Hey guys, this is Miss Rochefort here. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to be doing one of my favorite read-alouds. It is called Because of Mr. Terupt by Rob Bayou. And you can find this at any retail store, Amazon, or your local library. But this is a chapter book, so I'm going to be chunking it up and doing maybe 20 or so minutes every time to make it easy for you to listen to and join in. And I would recommend this probably for 3rd through 5th graders just because of some of the ideas, and it relates a whole lot to students of that age. But anybody is welcome to join us. And you see I'm sitting in front of my problem-solving chart paper at home. And I've broken it up into 8 sections because the characters in this book are amazing, and there's 7 main students that we're going to be learning about. And that's a whole lot of characters, and there's a lot to them to keep track of. And so I've organized it this way so I can be jotting down my thinking as I go, and I can kind of keep track from day to day of what's happening with my characters. Now, mine's huge so that you can see it, of course, at home. But if you want to grab a piece of paper, and you can just fold it, hamburger, hot dog, half and half, and make 4 equal sections on one side. Draw your lines, and on the other side you'll have your other 4 sections. And so I'm going to be stopping and jotting, but I want you to be doing your own thinking as well as you're listening, because you may think of things to jot down that I haven't thought of. So if you want to pause, go grab a piece of paper, a pen or a pencil, marker, sure, but make sure it doesn't bleed through, because then you'll be writing all these great thoughts, and you'll get the other side like, oh no, what do I do? I can't see it. So you want it to be a marker that doesn't bleed through and that's not going to be too fat. Now, I'm using fat markers because I have the whole page to write on. But you're going to need something thin or you're going to run out of room. You won't be able to write much in here with a big old fat marker. So go ahead and get yourself ready. Get a clipboard. Get yourself in a cozy spot where you can listen and kind of pay attention and still see my chart paper. And we're going to get started. So because of Mr. Terupt. Now the back here says 7 kids, 1 class, 1 amazing teacher, and the school year that changes their lives. So let's begin. The first character, well, let's see first. Because of Mr. Terupt. That's my dog. You might hear him sometimes, so just stick with me here. Do what we've got to do here at home. Okay, part 1. Obviously not a picture book, so I'm not going to be showing you a whole lot, but I do want to show you some things. And it starts with September. So I'm already thinking, all right, September is a weird way to begin. But then I'm thinking if it's 7 students that I know in 1 class, September kind of makes sense because we go back to school the end of August. And I know like my friends in New York go back in September. And so it's right around that time. So already I'm thinking that this story starts at the beginning of the school year. So let's see if that's right. Notice all my tabs too, and that just means that this is one of my favorite read-alouds, and I've already tabbed up where I want to stop and do my thinking. But all right, Peter is our first character. Oop, there we go. This is a new character. You're gonna sit up and say, what do we know about Peter? He's gonna be my first one you can write down. Hopefully you will be able to see my notes here at home. I think that's clear enough. Peter, capital P, it's capital, he's important. E-T-E-R. It's our bad luck to have teachers in this world, but since we're stuck with them, the best we can do is hope to get a brand new one instead of a mean old fart. New teachers don't know the rules, so you can get away with things the old-timers would squash you for. That was my theory, so I was feeling pretty excited to start 5th grade since I was getting a rookie teacher, a guy named Mr. Terupt. Right away, I put him to the test. If the bathroom pass is free, all you have to do is take it and go. This year, the bathrooms were right across the hall. It's always been an easy way to get out of doing work. I can be really sneaky like that. I take the pass all the time, and the teachers never notice. And like I said, Mr. Terupt was a rookie, so I knew he wasn't going to catch me. Once you're in the bathroom, it's mess around time. All the other teachers on our floor were women, so you didn't have to worry about them barging in on you. Grab the bars to the stalls and swing. Try to touch your feet to the ceiling. Swing hard. If someone's in the stall, it's really funny to swing and kick the door in, especially if he's a younger kid. If you scare him bad enough, he might pee on himself a little. That's funny. Or if your buddy's using the urinal, you can push him from behind and flush it at the same time. Then he might get a little wet. That's pretty funny too. Some kids like to plug the toilets with big wads of toilet paper, but I don't suggest you doing that. You can get in big trouble. My older brother told me his friend got caught and he had to scrub the toilets with a toothbrush. He said the principal made him brush his teeth with that toothbrush afterward too. Oof. Miss Williams is pretty tough, but I don't think she'd give out that kind of punishment. I don't want to find out either. When I came back into the classroom after my 4th or 5th trip, Mr. Terupt looked at me and said, "Boy, Peter, I'm going to have to call you Mr. Peabody, or better yet, Peter the Peer. You do more peeing than a dog walking by a mile of fire hydrants." Everybody laughed. I was wrong. He had noticed. I sat down. Then Mr. Terupt came over and whispered in my ear, "My grandpa used to tell me to tie a knot in it." I didn't know what to do. My eyes got real big when he said that. I couldn't believe it. But that didn't matter. Mr. Terupt just went back to the front board and the math problem he was going over. I sat there with big eyes. Soon, a smile too. "What did he say?" Maddie asked. Maddie's desk was right next to mine. "Nothing," I said. Ben and Wendy leaned across their desk to hear. They sat right across from us. Our 4 desks made up a table number 3. Mr. Terupt called us by table sometimes. You probably do that in your classroom too sometimes. "Nothing," I said again. It would be my secret. How cool was Mr. Terupt? His reaction was better than being yelled at like the old farts would have done. Some kids in my class would have cried. Not me. And somehow, I think Mr. Terupt knew I wouldn't. It was his way of letting me know he knew what was going on without making a huge stink about it. I like that about Mr. Terupt. He sure could be funny, and I'm a funny guy. This year, for the first time in my life, I started thinking school could be fun. And that's the end of the chapter. Let's stop. Hopefully, after you wrote Peter, as I was reading that first chapter, you might have jotted down some thinking you were doing. Already we already got some bathroom humor in it, so that's fun. So we know that he tries to get away with things, right? He thinks he can trick teachers. And he calls Mr. Terupt a rookie, meaning it's his first year. He's going to be able to get away with a lot of stuff. You know how some students do with substitutes. They're like, "Sub's here for the day." You know how it is. You know. So I'm going to kind of say sneaky, because that's a good way to put it, right? He says he tries to be. I'm going to say tries to be sneaky, because Mr. Terupt seems to already kind of have his number, as we say. He kind of already maybe have figured him out, because even Peter said that he handled that situation really well. So I'm going to say tries to be sneaky. You might put it in other words. And he also mentions a biggie, and because the end of the chapter says for the first time ever, I think school might be fun. Now, to me, as a teacher and someone, of course, who loves school, I'm thinking, whoa, that's some big words. So I'm going to put hasn't thought school was fun, because that kind of sounds like he might be changed a little bit. So, or I might just say he doesn't like school so far. You can put it in your own words. It sounds like we're not done with Peter. Now, hopefully you can see that. So far, I have, and you might have some other things, your own words. Peter tries to be sneaky and doesn't like school so far. Also seems to have some friends there, this table partners and things like that. It's pretty normal stuff. Nothing else that really sticks out about Peter yet. So that's all I'm going to have. You might have some other things too. Cool. Our next one is Jessica. I'm going to switch up colors here so you can kind of see it better. I'll make Jessica blue. Why not? Capital Jessica. Please write neater than I am. It's hard to like sideways and backwards and a wall. Who writes on the wall? I don't know. Jessica. Ooh, this is a different format. I don't know if you can see that, but it says Act 1, Scene 1. Now, that's different for the author. So it looks like, obviously we're hearing the story from different characters' point of view. But when it's Act 1, Scene 1, that's like a play is written, or if you've done like role plays and things like that, or skits, it might be written in kind of acts and scenes and things like that. So already you're kind of thinking, why would Jessica write it that way? Hopefully you're thinking the same thing. Wait, what's up with Jessica? Act 1, Scene 1. The first day of school. I was nervous, somewhat. The sweaty palms and dry mouth syndrome struck. This wasn't surprising. After all, I was coming to a brand new place. My mom and I had just moved all the way from the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean, over here in Connecticut. All right, pause. We got some setting things here. We got a map. Let's make it make sense. From the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean. Now we know North Carolina is here on the coast of the Atlantic Ocean. Florida, Georgia, all the way up, right? So here now, all the way from the Pacific. So I know the Pacific is over there. California takes up a lot of Pacific coast over there. All right, I'm thinking the United States. I'm picturing it. I got it. Cool. Over here in Connecticut. So Connecticut's way up north of us, though, on this Atlantic Ocean. Okay. So it was my first day in Snow Hill School. My mom came to help me get settled. We walked through the glass doors and beautiful entryway and stopped in the main office to ask for directions. A red-haired woman who proved to be exceptional at multitasking. Multitasking is a big old word. You look at it separately, it's not scary. Multi meaning more than one. Tasking meaning the things you do. So, a red-haired woman who proved to be exceptional at multitasking, doing many things at one time. We know many women that are very good at multitasking. They're doing lots of things at the same time, right? Okay. So she greeted us with a smile and a slight nod. She did this while the phone rested between her ear and her shoulder. I can picture that. All right, I can see it. Allowing her hands to scribble notes from a conversation she was having in her free ear with a brown-haired lady standing next to her. We waited. My fingers dug into the hard cover in my book. Hi, I'm Mrs. Williams, the principal. This was the brown-haired lady speaking. She looked serious, all decked out in her business suit. Welcome to Snow Hill School. Can I help you with anything? We're looking for Mr. Terupt's room, Mom said. I'm Julie Reitman, and this is my daughter, Jessica. We're new in town. Ah, yes, it's a pleasure to meet you both. Let me show you the way. Miss Williams led us out of the office. I glanced at the secretary one more time. She'd been a great character in one of Dad's plays, I thought. Thinking plays, remember Act 1, Scene 1? Connecting some things here. No, I lost my place. One of Dad's plays, I thought. My dad directs small plays in California, where I still wanted to be. Whoa, we learned a couple things about Jessica here. My dad directs small plays in California, where I still wanted to be. So it sounds like Dad's back over on the Pacific Coast in California, and she's with her mom here. That could be important. Jot that down. How are you today, Jessica? Miss Williams asked. Fine, I said, although that wasn't really true. We followed Ms. Williams across the lobby and upstairs in search of my new 5th grade classroom. The hall smelled stuffy but clean, like they'd just been disinfected. I wondered if the custodians had done it on purpose, to make a show of how clean their school was. I followed Mom down the blue speckled carpet and past the rows of red lockers, where some kids were already unloading new supplies. I could feel all their eyes studying the new girl in town. After the stares came the whispers. My face burned. If your face burns, you're thinking about what she's feeling. Now, she already said she was nervous. Her fingers dug into her textbook. So these are all really great ways of how the author says how nervous she is, but her face burned. You can really picture that. How are you? Miss Williams said. This is your floor. No, she didn't say how are you. She already did that. Let me back up. When readers realize something doesn't make sense, they gotta back up and reread. Here you are, Miss Williams said. This is your floor. There are 4 classrooms up here, all 5th grade. 2 on each side of the hall, with the bathrooms right in the middle. Miss Williams pointed as she spoke. That's your classroom, she pointed again. Room 202. Have a good first day. Thank you, Mom said. I just nodded. Act 1, Scene 2. We walked into the classroom. The teacher looked up from his desk and smiled at us. The butterflies in my stomach fluttered as if I were on I can't say it now. Tilt-a-whirl. Thank you. Tilt-a-whirl. You know, one of those things at the carnival's like, oh yeah, butterflies in your stomach. Okay, again, the nervous thing. But now the author compares it to being on a tilt-a-whirl. I gotta write that down. Good morning, I'm Mr. Terupt, the teacher said, as Mom and I walked in. He came right over to greet us. Good morning, Mom said back. I'm Julie Reitman, and this is Jessica. I think she's a little nervous being a new student. My tongue felt so swollen that I couldn't talk. I settled on returning Mr. Terupt's smile. It was a friendly one. Well, this is my first day too, so I guess we'll be trying to figure out things together, he said. My smile grew. Your seat is right over there at table 2. You're with Natalie, Tommy, and Ryan. Being near the windows should give you some good reading light. That's a great book you have there, Jessica. I looked down at my book, A Wrinkle in Time. I rubbed my hand over the cover. I really like happy endings, I said. Me too, said Mr. Terupt. I'll do my best to give you a happy ending this year. I smiled again. I couldn't believe it. My teacher was new too, and he liked what I was reading. I don't know why, but somehow he made my butterflies disappear and my tongue shrink. Things were going to be okay. All right, I hope you jotted down some really important things about Jessica, because I think we're going to need to know these in the future. I have blue. Okay, so you have, obviously, she's new to the school. So you might have experienced that sometime being a new student or when a new student comes to your class. And so it changes things up a bit, but especially it adds to her being nervous. And so I'm going to say that she's a new student. That nervous kept coming up over and over and over, but it seemed to get better there at the end. When she moved, she came from California to Connecticut, so huge move. You can't just go to California for the weekend as easily as you can, like to Charlotte or to Charleston or something like that, very close. It's all across the United States. So this is a big move, and we know that her dad's still there writing plays. And so let's go ahead and jot that down in case it becomes important later. So dad in, I'm going to put CA for California. Is that cool? Everybody got that? So the abbreviation, capital C, capital A. And she lives here with Mom. Oh, I put here. Guess what? We didn't put Connecticut. How am I going to remember that? So sorry. Put quotation marks here. Connecticut. See, it's hard to write, spell, all those things. In your parentheses, I put Connecticut. So dad's in California. She lives here. And we know that dad writes plays. I'm putting that as an important point because she's writing this in like act and scenes. And so that kind of makes sense that that's her background or that's what she relates to if that's what her dad does. So dad writes plays. If you wrote some other things about Jessica, that's awesome. Keep it up. You might have already thought of some things that I didn't kind of remember at the end here. So Jessica's a new student. She's very nervous. Dad's in California. She lives here. And dad writes plays. So if you wrote other things, keep with it. How are we doing on time? Let's see. It's been about 20 minutes. I might stop here. Let's do one more. We'll read one more character because this is Luke. So Luke, he's going to be red. Capital L-U-K-E. Luke, our third character. Introduced. I like school. Write it down. I'm good at it. I get all A's. So when Mr. Terupt announced our first math project, I was excited. Dollar words was crazy. All right, pause, time out. If you like games, if you like Scrabble or things like that, you might want to start a little piece of paper off to the side and start this game. You're going to love it. This is called dollar words, and I'm going to tell you more about it in the beginning and as I go. But at the top of your paper, go ahead and write dollar words, and you can kind of keep track of that. If you can, going back to our word from before, multitask, because that's going to be a separate thing that goes on throughout the whole story, but it's a lot of fun. Dollar words was crazy. Definitely not a worksheet problem, like all the others I've been given. Not even close. We had to assume that the letter A was worth 1 cent, B 2 cents, C 3 cents, and so on, making the letter Z worth 26 cents. All right, you got that. Makes sense. Alphabet. The challenge was to find words that equaled $1 when you added up their letter values. Not 99 cents or $1.01, but $1 exactly. Mr. Terupt gave us time to get started. He wanted to make sure we understood the project, and he said he wondered who would be the first one to find a dollar word. I immediately made a data table of all the letters and their corresponding values. A quick reference for me. Then I started putting down any word that came to mind that some of the bigger letters in it. Pretty equals 104. Walnut equals 91. Mr. equals 84. Then I thought, hey, wait a minute. What if I just tack on the letter S? Misters, 103. No good, but very close. I figured this could still be a worthwhile strategy for other words. So there I was, cranking out words, trying to find the first dollar word of the year, when what do I hear? Peter and Alexia. Ooh, Alexia, we don't know yet. But Peter, look at our notes. Oh, yes. He tries to be sneaky, and he doesn't like school so far. Okay, my dog thinks somebody barking at the door. He's really smart. He didn't realize that was just me banging on the wall. Okay. So who do I hear? Peter and Alexia. This is the 4th year Peter's been in my class, and my 3rd time with Alexia. Peter's funny, but sometimes he gets to be too much. If I'm concentrating on my work and he just wants to joke around, it annoys me. But I like him. He's fun and no stranger to trouble. Alexia, on the other hand, is always involved in some girl war. All right, we don't know her yet. Hang on. That stuff I don't get. She loves to wear flashy clothes, dresses, skirts, fancy shoes, and she always has the accessories to go with them. And she says the word like way too much. Alexia isn't a stranger to trouble either. She and Peter are a good match. Peter elbowed Alexia. Then I heard him whisper a word to her. That's not even close to $1, I thought. 53, Alexia said. No good. Try. Were they crazy? They were just trying out rude words and giggling the whole time. I just knew they were going to get caught. That's no good either, Peter said. Maybe, what a butthead. As soon as I thought it, I knew it was a word with calculating. Sure enough, butthead equaled 81. I tacked on the S. There wasn't just one butthead, but 2. Dollar word. I was just about to call out that I had found one when Peter beat me to it. I've got a word, he yelled. Buttocks. He strutted to the board like he was the coolest thing since sliced bread and wrote it for the class. Buttocks, he said again. Buttocks. Peter went on to demonstrate how the word added up to $1. Mr. Terupt didn't interrupt, just as I was about to. The new girl did. Buttocks is spelled with a K in it, Peter, Jessica said. Peter looked to Mr. Terupt. Sorry, Peter, she's right. Better try again. And maybe you should choose a different type of word than the ones you've been coming up with. Peter swung back in his seat. No surprise to me. Mr. Terupt knew what Peter was up to the whole time. I raised my hand. Mr. Terupt, I've got one. I walked up to the board and wrote butthead. That was followed by a chorus of laughs. Butthead, I said, Butthead. Adds up to 81 cents. But if you have more than one, then you get buttheads. And buttheads is a $1 word. Just ask Peter and Alexia. Mr. Terupt snickered. That's enough, Luke. I must say, this isn't a word I was expecting, but nonetheless, it's our first $1 word. Congratulations. $1 words was the best math project ever. We started on a Wednesday, $1 word, and worked for 3 weeks. Through trial and error, a few strategies that I learned along the way, and some helpful hints from Mr. Terupt, I broke the record for the most dollar words. My final poster was covered with 54 of them. Mr. Terupt looked at my work and smiled. Luke, that is excellent, dollar word. You are the dollar word champ. All right. So if you were that guy that likes to multitask, sorry, Brody. And you started your own dollar words, you already have a few on that list. So good for you. If not, you just think it's fun. That's cool too. But we have some things to add. And I'm so sorry, the first word you had is buttheads. This book is silly that way, and I kind of warned you. It's good for 3rd through 5th grade. I like those kind of words, unfortunately. But Luke, we need to see what we knew about Luke. I'm going to go back in my story here and think about what we did learn. He started off with I like school. And for 5th grade, that's pretty cool. I'm good at it. I get all A's. And a word that comes to mind, and he said he knew it'd be the first one to get a dollar word. A word that's kind of I'm thinking of is confident. And so I'm going to say confident in schoolwork, or kind of thinks he's really smart. So first of all, let's think. Like school. I'm just going to say like school and is good at it. I'm going to put the and sign. I don't really like that, or, make it shorthand for now. Like school and is good at it. I also know that he loves math games because this was like his thing. He was super excited about this game. So he said it was the first time like he hasn't had a worksheet. So that was super cool that he's liking it like that. Anything else she said? It sounds like he kind of stays away from trouble because he was kind of ignoring Peter and Alexia, like, oh, I don't want to get into their business. They're making up bad words. And so it kind of seems like he wants to stay away from trouble. So I'm going to mark that down because that seems really important and good. Remember that. Stay away from people that get into trouble. Wants to, I'm going to say avoid. It's a good word for stay away from. Trouble. All right, and again, I'm not going to keep my own dollar word list, but you're welcome to. It's a great thing, and even keep it going on your fridge or whatever with your family. It's pretty cool to kind of think of how many ways you can think of it. All right, and this I am going to stop now after Luke because we have been reading for a while today. But join me next time, and we're going to see, we've already, Alexia's been mentioned, and she seems like a really cool one that we're going to meet next time. And so tune in next time. I hope everyone's doing well. I miss you tons, and keep on keeping on, guys.